飛ばしたらあんなこんなどんなカーブもへっちゃらさダダダディダダドゥダダうなるエンジンで涙なんかぶちぎれ
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 17 of License to Carranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty well.
Cool.
Had a lovely day. Didn't go to IKEA, so in that sense the day was kind of wasted.
Well, I mean, Dave, there is not an IKEA in our city, so I feel like that is your natural state, is not going to IKEA.
Well,
hopefully
yeah,
you do not feel
that.
like every day is a waste.
Well, yeah, you say that, but we did go to IKEA last weekend, and man, gosh, I like IKEA.
I mean, it's good.
It is. We can talk more about IKEA later. I don't know if there's enough jokes about it, but I just really like IKEA. That's it. It's the meatballs, really. Anyways, no, I had a lovely day. We went to the beach. We went to the Botanical Gardens.
Ooh, the Botanical Gardens.
Have you ever been there?
You know, Dave, I have lived in Cleveland almost my entire life. I have never been to the Botanical Gardens because...
Yeah, same until today. It's great.
The Botanical Gardens
you should go.
Are across the street from the Art Museum, and the Art Museum is free. So anytime that I'm right there, I'm just going to the Art Museum.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that makes sense.
Anyway, Dave, I'm very excited to talk to you today about episode 17 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. It is called Wearing Authority, Head-On Collision. And Dave, I'm doubly excited because we have a guest this week to talk about the episode with us. Joining us this week is Jake Mason from the Morphin Grid, etc.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Jake.
Now, Jake, you are with us this week because the episode of Turbo that is adapted from this is a particular favorite of yours. Am I wrong?
No, you are correct. I joke that it's my favorite episode of Power Rangers, and I'm not sure how sincere the joke is or not.
Well, I hope that this one in some way lives up to your expectations. It was written by Yoshio Urasawa. The original air date was June 21st, 1996. If you would like to watch along with us, you can do so on the DVDs or at shoutfactory.tv. But before we get into that, guys, as always, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. Jake, since you are our guest this week, what is our first star of the week?
First star of the week is the Shonen Jump app from the Shonen Jump magazine. I'm not 100% sure what it used to be.
I don't know.
It is an app now with a bunch of manga on it.
Okay. It's
wait. So there is... I was going to say, it's before it was a magazine, like a tree, I would imagine.
Yeah,
so you're saying the Shonen
presumably.
Jump magazine no longer exists?
I think it does. I know it existed digitally before they launched the app, where you could, subscribe for however much, or for it was like $1.75 a month, and you would get like the magazine, and you could look at it or and read it and read all the the manga that comes out monthly or weekly or however often. Now it's an app, so for $2 a month you get access to literally everything they've ever published, which is a lot, as I've found out.
Yeah, Shonen Jump has been around for ages.
Yeah, so when I first got it, when it launched in either December or November, I caught up with My Hero Academia. I was staying with the manga with the show, and then season 3 ended, and I felt a big hole in my life, so I was like, well, good thing this is here, and I just caught up with it. That was like 100 or so chapters. Now I'm reading Naruto.
That'll got to keep you busy for the next decade?
Well, that's what I was hoping. I've been reading it for about 2 months, maybe almost 3 months, and I am halfway done the 700 chapters.
Holy cow!
Because it's very easy to just okay, there, I finished a 20-page comic book, and I hit a button, and the next one comes to me, and then you just keep doing that on your lunches and your breaks at work, and you get 350 chapters in Naruto real quick.
Well, I do the same thing with Marvel Unlimited, which is which we have, and you actually can plow through continuity pretty quickly. So this is weird, and I feel like I should know this. Like, this is like a real crack in my nerd bona fides, which is I don't actually totally know like how Shonen Jump operates. Did they publish it every month, and is it just like a bound edition with like 12 different titles in it?
Yeah, it is. If you know sort of how 2000 AD operates, it is it's a regularly published anthology series that gives you like the new chapter in a bunch of different series every time a new issue comes out. I think I'm saying this as though I've read Shonen Jump, and I never actually have rather. Is that right, Jake? Do you know?
For the most part, as far as I know, I didn't read it before I got the app. But I think the only correction I would make is that it comes out weekly because they just don't stop over there.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
every
insane.
Every week there's a new chapter of My Hero Academia, which is between 15 and 22, 23 pages. So like, imagine if, and I know that a lot of these comics came out bi-monthly for a long time, but like, imagine a new Avengers every week.
Just every week.
Just every single week. That's what Shonen Jump does. There's no color, so I think that takes a lot of time out, but still.
That's a lot.
Yeah, no, that is still pretty crazy. Man, and it's seriously $2 a month?
$2 a month. It's the best $2 I spend every month.
Here's what's up. I am looking at Wikipedia. For the first year of its operation, it was every other week, but since 1969, it has been a weekly publication.
Wow.
Gosh golly, that's a lot of comic books. Yeah, $2 a month. That, I don't know. I may have to investigate that. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about, I know that DC just announced, or have they released yet, like the same thing with their stuff, which I've been waiting for because I like DC Comics but never read them.
Yeah, I think they have. I think it's up now. I think it's up and running. I'm not totally sure about that. But they went crazy, like, because they were just like, we have no comics, we have 21,000 volumes all ready to go right now, which I think really was the way to do it. And
they have like TV shows that are also a part of the same thing.
Yeah, apparently Brendan Fraser plays Robot Man in Doom Patrol.
Yeah, I know, right? Fraser,
Timothy Dalton is in
that.
that.
I love it. I'm very excited.
Anyway, that is all very exciting. Speaking of comic book stuff, Dave, what is our second star of the week?
Our second star of the week is, we can't let it pass by. We've got to talk about Avengers Endgame, however briefly.
Right. Now, listen, this movie made like $1.2 billion over the first weekend worldwide, so chances are you have seen this movie.
You've seen it.
Statistically, you've seen it twice.
The biggest thing, listen, it was a fantastic movie. It had some high spots, it had some low spots. I think my favorite part about it is just when Hawkeye goes full DC. Like, everybody else is in a Marvel movie, and Hawkeye just decides he's going to flip universes for like half of this thing.
Right. Yeah, like Thanos.
He's just a DC character for 20 minutes.
When Thanos snapped his finger, Hawkeye, like, everyone, like, half the people died, half the people stayed away, or alive, rather, and Hawkeye just became a Suicide Squad.
Yeah, like, he just went Green Arrow, and that was that.
So
that was I should say, I need to give my wife came up with that joke, and I loved it so much I had to use it in the show.
Man, my experience of going to see Endgame was very strange because as I will talk about in the next star, last weekend I went out of town and was hanging out with some college friends, including producer Mark and other people who have been on the show in the past. So, I had not yet seen Endgame, but there was a movie theater near to the place where we were staying in, like, rural Pennsylvania. And the show started at 9:45. And so, as soon as you and I, Dave, finished recording the previous episode of this show, I hopped in my car and just drove directly from my apartment to the movie theater in PA. And I arrived, like, right as the movie was starting, rather. And I was driving around, because, it's an unfamiliar territory. I'm like, okay, is this an AMC? Is this a Cinemark? what are we looking for here? And I just almost drive past it because it's sort of back a ways in a plaza, and there's just one big marquee that says the movies. Because apparently, if you are sort of in that part of the countryside, when you're heading out to the movies, you're just going to the movies.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options out that way, I imagine.
The five of us, sorry, were the only people in the movie theater.
Oh, nice.
Which was so great. Yeah, it was a really wonderful experience. I mean, listen, I would have liked watching it in basically any experience because I liked the movie, but it was such like a weird, sort of like surreal moment that I just wanted to mention it.
I saw it at an Alamo Draft House, which is I think is maybe the best way to see movies now because no one's allowed to talk or else they get thrown out.
Oh yeah, they've got like a zero, and the food's good.
And the food's really good. I had a Royale with cheese. It's very good.
That sounds very good. I've never been to an Alamo Draft House because there's not one here in town, and I do not frequent places where they exist. But whenever I hear about one, I always get a little jealous.
Yeah, they're real good. Like they're super good. There is, Matt, a spot that is now by me called Silver Spot. Beth went there, and it's like an Alamo Draft House, except the food is not as good. So,
Ooh,
but still apparently a very nice place. Well, I'm just saying still apparently a very nice place to see movies, though. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to an Alamo Draft House, go. Also get one of their milkshakes with beer in it. Sounds weird. Super delicious.
They're very good. There's also there's the beer ones and the liquor ones. They're all very good. Can recommend.
All right.
Yeah.
Dave, what is our third star of the week?
Oh, third star of the week is so I was driving out on a road, which is the recommended place to drive.
I was going to say that I feel like that's the standard choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm driving out on this road, kind of like out east of the city, and Cleveland, that is, not New York City, the city that I live in. And I just drive past this sign, and the sign just says "Mech Wanted," and my first thought was like, "Yeah, you and me both, buddy.
Duh.
Like that would be totally rad." And then I kind of glanced at the rest of the sign and realized that it was an auto body shop, and what they actually meant was "Mechanic Wanted," and my nerd brain, like all I saw was like, "I'd like a giant robot," and I was like, "Yeah, of course you would. They'd be great." But they don't. They just want it, and they probably would have, I don't know, hit me with a wrench if I tried to make that joke.
I do like the idea that the only reason that none of us have a mech is that we just haven't been industrious enough to like make the sign.
Just haven't asked, yeah.
Just got to put it out in the universe, man. That's the secret.
I was going to say, you put it up on your vision board, and you just kind of put those vibes out into the universe.
I don't even need a Gundam, man. Just give me a Leo. Give me an Aries. Don't give me
just an anything.
Don't give me a Pisces. The fish robots were weird, but
the
other ones are cool.
I guess you never forget your first favorite mech. There is always a soft spot in my heart for Gundam Heavy Arms. That thing is so rad. Like I can see it in my mind's eye so easily. The second round when they get their second round of Gundams, you know what I mean? Then there's a movie or something afterwards, and Gundam Heavy Arms does this giant spinny flip, and he lands. And both of his arms drop, and he's got twin Vulcan cannons on both arms, and just starts mowing down other mechs.
Yeah, dude, Heavy Arms
it is
custom.
Forever seared in my imagination. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in an anime ever.
I really like that when they leveled up everybody's weapons in that show. What the Death Scythe got was his energy scythe now had 2 levels of blades, as though it was a fancy razor blade.
Yeah.
For an even closer death.
Yeah, sorry, I'm watching it right now. It's so good.
Yeah, Gundam Wing holds up, dude.
So,
When
anyways,
I think of mech,
yeah,
I think of Power Rangers Megazords because I think I'm a little younger than both of y'all.
Oh yeah, but I mean, come on, it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all. Listen, I don't know that I've ever seen a giant robot that I didn't think was pretty awesome.
fair point.
So,
Yeah, but you know, I would really like. Wait, whoa! I do not know where that sentence was going to go. I'm sorry, guys.
By sentence.
See you later. See you at the crossroads, sentence.
So, Matt, you, me, and everybody else on the planet wants a giant killer robot. None of us have them, but what we can have, Matt, is a 4th star. What, Matt, is the 4th star of the week?
Dave, as I mentioned earlier, I went on a fishing trip. Well, okay, it was meant to be a fishing trip. It was going to be me, Mark, Eric, Brian, Cody. They all wanted to go on a fishing trip, and I like them, so I was going to go on this fishing trip with them. And then when we were not fishing, we were just going to, like, hang out and, like, you know, drink a couple of beers and play a bunch of board games, which is really what I was in it for. And then, like, the weather, it was... I felt a little badly for everyone else, but I felt great for me because the weather was, like, just bad enough. And Mark felt, like, a little sick. Like, not enough that he wasn't able to enjoy hanging out and had to go home, but just enough that he didn't want to get on a boat and sit on a lake for a few hours. And so, although the fishing trip was canceled, my part of the trip, which was hanging out and playing board games, was on 100%. And
So,
it
Matt,
could
just
not
real
have been
quickly,
a better weekend for me.
Yeah, Matt, real quickly is, have you, because this is like the 3rd time you've done this, right?
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd, yeah.
Okay, have you guys ever actually gone fishing on this fishing trip?
I mean, I haven't, but other people have.
Oh, okay. Because I just seem to recall that like every time you guys go on this fishing trip, like something happens, like it rains or like the weather's terrible or whatever, and you never actually end up doing any fishing.
The first time we went, it was like an unseasonably cold early October weekend, and it was like snowing, so that everyone else like went out and tried to fish for an hour while I hung out in the cabin and read a book. And then they came back
that
and we
sounds
played
like a million times better.
Really, it all eventually
that
what
also
happens
sounds great.
is eventually, like, it all comes back to board games, which is what I am there for. Dave, specifically, let me tell you 2 board game things that we did.
Yeah, please do.
We played... Have we talked about time stories on this show before?
I think we have.
Okay.
Time Stories is gamified. It's gamified Groundhog Day.
It's gamified Groundhog Day that is also sort of like, imagine a Groundhog Day thing that is mixed with you having to be a detective, which is also mixed with kind of like Assassin's Creed, like throwing your consciousness into the past, into the body of somebody else technology. So, like, your consciousness gets thrown into the past, and you have to solve a mystery, but you only have so many, like, time units in which to do it, and when you don't succeed, you get, like, pulled out, and you have to go back at the original insertion point. But you, the player, have the knowledge, so you can, like, go back through and attack it differently to try to, like, get to it before you run out of time.
It's a really, really cool concept for a game.
That sounds really neat. Yeah, I've never heard of this one.
It's super cool.
Oh, seriously? Oh, man. Yeah, it's really good.
The only problem with it, though, is that once you have solved the mystery, you have solved that mystery. Like, there's no reason to go back and play that mystery again. You got it. So, what the game does is they have a bunch of different mysteries that you can buy, like expansions.
Okay.
But they're not all written by the same original, like, very capable game writing crew. And Dave got me 2... expansions for Christmas, and I hadn't had a chance to play them yet. We played both of them. The first one we played, man, I do not know what was going on with it, because it seemed as though it was written by someone for whom English was not their primary language, and then translated into English by someone else for whom English was not their primary language. Like, we got through it, but there would be times when we had to, like, stop and read the cards a few times. And frankly, it was hilarious, but it was kind of like, man, it was a trial. The second one that we did was called A Prophecy of Dragons, which was basically all of the other elements that I just told you, but the world that you went to was like on a different planet, and it was basically D&D.
What? That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so you are like a time-traveling Groundhog Day Assassin's Creed D&D party. It's extremely good.
Assassin's Creed Quantum Leap D&D party.
Yes. Extraordinarily good. The other game we played a lot of was Root, and guys, Root is very good.
Oh, man. I have heard some fantastic stuff about Root. I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
Root is
because it is like it is completely asymmetric for players. Like you're all playing the same game, kind of, but you all have like slightly different rules.
Yes, and
and are trying to achieve completely different things.
Yeah, well, the thing is that you're not like you're trying to achieve like a victory point success total, but everyone achieves victory points in completely different ways. So, like, there is I don't want to go too far into details because it is not like, because we've already been talking for a few minutes about it. And I don't want this entire show to just be me talking about this one board game I really like. But like there are four factions, and like two of them are very like militaristic, but they operate very differently. One of them is like, is the Woodland Alliance. Oh, because in this game you play like animals, like it's like a Red Guard looking sort of thing. It's very cute. Okay. And so the Woodland Alliance is all just like the mice and foxes and rabbits of the forest who are like trying to throw off the oppressors that are like the birds and the cats.
Okay, awesome.
Sure.
And so they are kind of a military faction, but really what they have to do is like go around the map and like spread sympathy for their cause and like cause uprisings and revolts. And so like they just operate completely differently. And the fourth person is the Vagabond, who is just like a crazy raccoon who rolls through the woods and is a solo adventurer.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, so we'll play this game with you at some point, and can I call dibs on raccoon? Is that cool?
Dave, I got the expansion. It includes a second raccoon character, so yes.
Nice.
Anyway, Dave, what is our fourth star of the week?
So, fifth star of the week,
Fifth star
Matt.
of the week.
Our fourth star of the week is Root. So, I went on a fishing trip, Matt, with some friends. Anyways, our fifth star of the week is I have some thoughts about cheese.
Okay.
This sounds weird.
No, hey, Dave.
This
listen.
sounds weird, but follow me.
I'm often thinking about cheese. I'll go with you on this.
Yeah. So, Jake, I don't know what your thoughts about cheese are. I assume they're positive. Most people's are.
Pretty positive. I'm lactose intolerant, so it's more of a longing and a wistfulness about cheese that I have. But yes, I can follow you here.
Okay, got it. So here is I've had a very weird experience with I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is a genuine thing. This is not a joke. I've had some weird experiences with cheese recently, and here's what happened. So I think I mentioned that Beth had to go on this elimination diet. Her doctor was just like, hey, do this thing. And I was like, I will do it with you because I love you, and it would like suck to do it by yourself.
Right.
So part of it was like, don't eat dairy, basically. Like, just don't eat dairy for like 6 weeks. I was like, all right, well, this will be lame, but we'll do it. So no dairy for 6 weeks. And then we're just sort of like, we reintroduce things. We're like, okay, dairy seems to be fine. Cool. But we just like didn't have any cheese in the house. And I really thought that like when we could get dairy back, I was going to be like, oh, cheese. Like, yeah, like let me get that cheese back. And my experience has been sort of like I'm like I don't dislike cheese or anything, but it's like it was not this like revelatory experience, like reintroducing cheese back into my life.
Well, okay, now Dave, I've got to ask a question to you. What kind of cheese were you introducing back into your life? Like when you were
like cheeses that I
right, but like when you were able to like get back into cheese, did you just like go to the deli and get some slices of Swiss cheese, or did you get like some celebratory cheese, the sort of cheese that you get to mark an occasion?
No, I should say, and I think I'm glad that you say it that way, Matt, because I just had some like cheese, right? This was not like special occasion cheese, it was like standard cheese, right? Mm-hmm. And
company cheese.
Sure,
yeah,
government
and
cheese.
So I had it, and I was like, this is fine. And I mentioned to Beth, I was like, I thought this would be a bigger deal. And she said, well, you know that cheese is addictive. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, like this is super crazy, but basically there are, so you've got like receptors in your brain, right? Like your brain and body, and like there are chemicals that bind to those receptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing that I did not know, is that if you have a chemical that's like kind of close to the receptor, that like it's kind of close to the chemical that a receptor is designed for, it won't like fire it all the way, but it will fire it like a tiny bit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there's stuff in cheese that kind of a little bit like activates the same receptors that opioids do.
Oh.
Okay.
So, and I was like, did we detox from cheese? Like, did I have the cheese shakes, and now that like I'm through it, like I'm past my addiction, I'm not as into cheese anymore? And here's what I've realized. I do still like cheese. Obviously, everybody likes cheese.
You're not a monster.
Yeah.
I'm not a monster. But what I have discovered is that, like, I'm kind of over cheese as effectively a condiment.
Yeah.
And I've come to realize that this is how people think of, and I myself have thought that this is how people think of cheese. That it's like, well, you have everything else, and then you put cheese on it, as though it's like salt. Like you put on a little salt, and you put on some pepper, and then you put on some cheese. And that, I think, is the key, Matt. Like, if I was getting, like, really nice cheese, I'd be like, oh, yeah, like, if I'm going to eat this cheese, like, let's eat some cheese.
Absolutely. Get some brie, get some camembert.
Yeah, right.
You know I love a camembert.
I do know that you love a camembert. I also know that you love Morbier.
I do love a Morbier.
Yeah. So anyways...
Good Morbier is hard to come by. Good Morbier is a little trickier to find than a good camembert, but when you can find it, it's worth the hunt.
It is. So, anyways, I haven't like broke.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Morbier, that's the Spider-Man villain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy cats!
It is the cheese that is created when a cutting-edge phlebotomist has to really go outside the box to save his own life.
Definitely not a flip. I mean, I would say Morbius, Matt, he's a hematologist. He's more of an amateur but very enthusiastic phlebotomist.
Okay.
I've never heard of that cheese before in my life.
Also, there's a Morbius movie coming out.
Yeah,
I did not know this.
I did hear about this.
Venom's going to be in it.
I had no idea. Beth told me, and I sort of scream-giggled in the car. I was really excited. So anyways, thoughts on cheese. It's great. It's just not a condiment, guys. Like, I saw a recipe on, I know that I've been talking about cheese for way too long, but now that I'm deep enough in, we have to go through rather than back. I saw a recipe on the internet, who knows where, and it is a restaurant that will bring you out a hamburger, and then they will just, like, pour cheese sauce over it, like the whole thing. No. And I saw it, and I was like, you have fundamentally misunderstood how hamburgers work. This is a recipe that's invented by a foreign man who's never seen a cheeseburger, but heard the word cheeseburger, and this is what they came up with. That's insane. Because, like, now you can't eat it like a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
now
the
it's
sort of
just
thing,
like a soggy bread mess.
I feel like that's the sort of thing you see as, like, those videos on Facebook that are, like, tasty, and, like, finally, now this is here, and they'll show you some like war crime of a recipe.
Yeah, or they show you like here's what people in Brooklyn are eating, and it's like chicken wings dipped in edible gold leaf or something.
No es bueno, my friends.
Anyways, this has been Cheese Corner, Matt.
Dave, don't name it, because then Mark has to make a sting.
He's got to make a song.
No, see, I actually thought about saying Cheese Corner at the beginning, and I didn't say it because I knew that it would force Mark to invent a song for Cheese Corner. But I think if I said it at the end, he's safe. So I hope, unless he's driven by his own like inner demons to make this thing.
Cheese Corner. Yeehaw.
So we are going to take a break. We're going to watch episode 17 of Carranger, and we will be right back. All right, welcome back. We have just watched episode 17. It ruled. Let's talk about it.
Yes, please.
This episode, first of all, this is a textbook filler episode. Like, it's super fun, but you can tell it's a filler because anytime there is a moment that they need to, like, transform or pose, like, you get the entire pose every single time.
That is in my notes 3 separate times. Like, oh man, they must not have a lot of scripts today. Oh man, they really must not have a lot of scripts today.
Well, okay, when we get, I guess I can just say now, it's not anything that's like a spoiler for this or next week's episode. I have a theory about it, which is,
okay.
Dave, do you don't watch through the end of the credits, right?
I generally do not know.
Okay. At the end of the credits in Carranger, they will have a little bit where they tell you what the next week's episode is going to be, and then somebody gives you a traffic safety tip. Right. So
I did not know that going in. It was jarring, but amazing.
So this week's was particularly amazing because next week's episode, they are going to be shooting on location at the it's like the family fun farm park.
Yeah. They've gone there like 3 different times.
If you may recall, did they go there in O-Ranger? I know in Kakuranger, that's where Sasuke goes to meet like the butterfly girl when he was on his solo quest.
I don't think, no, they don't go there in O-Ranger. They go there in Kakuranger, and they go there in Jetman.
Yes, they do go there. Okay, so they're going there next week. And so my theory is that, like, man, next week we've got to pack up the production. We've got to go out to the fun farm. Like, it's going to be a whole thing. So what can we knock out in an afternoon?
Like, let's just get this one done, and then we'll move on.
Let's get some ugly jackets. Let's get all the transformation and driving footage we already have.
Mm-hmm. Just pad this sucker out.
The last episode that aired as of recording this of Morphin Grid was a bad episode of Power Rangers, and they did the same thing. And I was like, oh boy, they really didn't want to make this episode, so they just used all the all the Morphin footage they had. And I'm glad that that's not just a Power Rangers thing. I'm glad sometimes the Sentai does that too.
100%.
No, they definitely do. I mean, I just, like, the production schedule on this show is so insane.
Yeah.
Like, it boggles my mind that they do this show. And not only do they do it, I don't think, like, this is not like, they don't film the 96 season in 1995, I don't think. Like, I don't think they're that far ahead.
No.
When they're shooting and releasing this
I don't think so.
I think they're a couple of weeks ahead because if you look at the original air date, like, you can tell that the episodes that they're recording in June, that they're releasing in June, were recorded in like May, probably, just based on the weather.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So anyways, this specific episode, stuff does happen.
Oh, sure.
So we
Amazing
open
stuff.
up, and it's,
yes.
and Zanette is watching Earth, and, kind of wistfully through this window, and we're getting sort of like va-va-voom trumpet, kind of, because it's Beauty Zanette, right?
Yeah.
And Richie Hiker approaches, and he just says, hey, I will buy you a dress. You should go on a date with me. And I'm not sure if he's like, I'll buy you a dress, like, and as like a bribe, or if this is a surprisingly smooth line, like, oh, hey, I heard you needed like a cool new dress. For what? For the date we're going on, which would actually be like a pretty good line, I feel
slick,
like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's a good like real life line, but it does sound like a good TV line.
Yeah, it would not work in real life, I don't think. But on, you know,
I have no idea. I had one girlfriend when I was 16, and then I dated my wife and I married her. So this is not like this is not a zone that I have a lot of experience in.
So yeah, he says like, I'll buy you a skirt or a dress or whatever it was. Like, come down to Earth with me. We'll go to Hot Spring. They have like outdoor baths. It's gonna be super nice. She of course was wistfully thinking about the Red Racer. But she's like, no, he has rejected me. I need to, like, distract myself, you know, get out of the house, you know.
Move on, eat a giant cake all by myself.
yeah, the normal stuff.
Now, Jake, remind me, is this the first episode of Carranger that you have seen, or have you been watching it?
I have not been watching this season along. This is the first episode I've seen, and my first note is that Zonette is exactly as horny as Divatox is.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
They are exactly the same. I think they try to like hide it better in Power Rangers, whereas in Sentai they're just like, here it is. Here's Zonette. You know what you're here for.
Yeah, it's like shockingly horny. I have gotten used to how horny she is, and how horny the show is for her. But boy, it's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it starts off with like a Vaseline filter on the camera and the va va voom trumpets, and I'm like, oh, they were not kidding. They just go all in on this, huh?
Yeah, they sure do. They do not mess. They do not mess around. So I have actually never seen Power Rangers Turbo, and
just give Divatox a quick Google.
No, I do, and I remember I have seen this costume before, because when we first talked about Beauty Zonette, this is sort of, we've already sort of had this conversation, I think. Although there actually are some vague similarities between these costumes.
Yeah, they've been doing this thing in, at least as far as Time Force, and I think in the next season in Wild Force, where they have the, and they did in Lightspeed, the season before the one that we're on for Morphin Grid, where they have the lead bad guy, the lead, you know, human face bad guy, which is, you know, just the women for a little while, I guess. And they basically like they put him really far away, and then they just match the costume, and they try to like copy that into Power Rangers. And I think Divatox was sort of the dry run of that, of like, okay, how do we make that, but Divatox for us? And then they're like, forget it, we'll just give her a fish mask and
love it,
and a real tight bustier and call it a night.
I wonder if this is, anyways, we could no. So Dynamo was like, hey, wait a minute. Like, what are you doing? You're like talking to my girl, I think is the idea. And Richie Hiker says like, oh, we just man, these Car Rangers, right? Gotta go.
Gotta go to Earth. Gotta beat the Car Rangers. See you next episode.
See you later.
So speaking of the Earth, down there, everyone has been, okay, they're all going like kind of camping, kind of just like grilling out.
They're gonna have a barbecue day.
They have brought all of their tents to a barbecue day, which indicates to me that this will become at some point a barbecue night. I don't know if they actually planned on that, but
I think this is good planning, I think, because if you're having a barbecue, anything you can do to prolong that experience, I think you're in it's positive territory. And they're just thinking ahead. They're like, we're going to get some tents. So, the fun don't stop. We're going to keep barbecuing.
They're into this. They're all kind of into this. Dapu, it seems like, is very into this and has kind of forced them into doing it.
Dapu, also, first time I'm seeing Dapu after hearing tales of
How was that for you?
I got to say, not a fan.
No.
Not a fan
of looking at Dapu.
It's not a pleasant experience.
No.
We've sort of become inured to the fact that he's like a horrible flesh baby Yoda.
Yeah, he's also very tall. My problem is that he's so tall. If he would be like Yoda sized, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's still not pleasant, but I understand it. But he's like a real human height,
Right.
and I'm like, that's too big to have your face be that big and that smooth.
Yeah, if he was,
I don't like
if he was a puppet and not a short dude, then
Yeah.
this would be much
With
better.
a-
Yeah, I
Fat
think
mask?
that would be very different. The fact that he is, it's a lot. And so they've come loaded for bear to this barbecue, man. They have brought a truly stunning amount
Tell
of
you
food.
what, food looks
Yeah.
good.
It does.
It does all look good. Let me say something about almond pudding, and I had to look that up because I love almonds and I love pudding. I found 2 recipes. One is basically like an almond flavored panna cotta,
Okay.
and the other is like a pudding that you make out of almond milk, like a gelatin. It's like gelatin with almond milk.
That sounds
Okay.
less
Sweet,
interesting,
which I think-
but
It does sound a little less interesting, but I would eat it. It does sound
Sure.
good. So anyways, they're like doing the barbecue thing. They're getting everything set up. They're all having a good time. Like, now that they're here, everybody's into it. They're having their barbecue, by which they do not mean they're grilling out. They're not eating barbecue.
yes.
Yeah.
To be clear.
They are doing the thing that people who do not live in a barbecue-rich environment call barbecuing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in New Hampshire, we would call what they are doing having a barbecue. But now that I live in Texas, I know better.
Yeah, I think you're legally allowed. They can kill you in Texas if you
yeah,
call it
if
that,
you're not,
right?
if you don't know
like a
what,
Texas
like,
Ranger shows up.
yeah, hat and everything, and then they just take you to
Yeah.
stocks in the middle of town. They throw, I don't know, rats at you or something terrible. The best barbecue place is actually South Carolina style barbecue. So like in my head, like everyone else is a pretender to that throne. Now
I do really like South
Yeah.
Carolina style barbecue.
I do really like South Carolina barbecue. We have established on our show that we are, kind of barbecue ecumenical, man. Like I'll eat anything. I love it all.
Same, yeah.
So the girls, they realize that like they're out of something. I forget what it is, and so they send the girls out shopping. So Natsumi and Yuko are out to get like whatever grocery it is that they need, and we flip back to the barbecue itself. Dapu is in a tent, and he's got like a mobile version of the alert machine.
I was
Which is
wondering
great
about
planning.
because I haven't seen it, and I was like, is this just the thing, or did he make a special one just for grilling occasions?
No. This is like the portable.
I mean,
Okay.
This is the portable version.
This is the first time that we have seen something like this, because the rest of the series, like after the first episode, Dapu just lives in the garage.
Sure.
But he has brought it along, and it goes off, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, guys, Bozoker coming!" But the 3 guys are like in the middle of their dinner, and they are refusing to acknowledge that there is danger. He's like, "No, barbecue is now. Bozoker not allowed to attack during barbecue. Let me finish eating this, then I will investigate."
Tell him to wait. This is classic hero's journey. Refusal of the call.
yes.
We're just starting
Great.
over.
I was just talking about that. Great job. So, are we gonna nerd out about the monomyth, Jake? Man,
I mean, I can't go super far into it because I went to film school and not a regular college, so I only know a couple of the steps.
Oh,
The
it's okay. There's too many. There's like 37.
there's a
steps.
lot
It's
of
I mean,
ridiculous.
the problem is that the most recent thing I have seen about the monomyth is the Polygon Unraveled video, which is almost impossible to follow and adds a bunch of other stuff. So,
Is that the Kingdom Hearts
oh
one?
yes, there's the Kingdom Hearts one, which
Yeah,
you have not yet seen.
also I forgot to tell you, you legally can't talk about it. I have a podcast where I can't learn anything about Kingdom Hearts outside of the podcast. So I don't want to get my lawyers in here to shut you down.
I realized about a half sentence into it, like, oh, this is a Kingdom Hearts thing, so I have to be as oblique as possible.
Yeah, which is not super hard, but the obliquer the better.
I mean,
okay.
okay, so
So we could just we will move past under threat of legal action. We'll move past Kingdom Hearts talk. And so what we see is this ambulance. It looks, I think it's an ambulance is what it looks like.
I think it's just a weird
And-
car. It kind of looks like a Kia Soul.
Oh yeah, it kind of
It's
does.
a little early for one, but yeah.
And there's a car with a bunch of Wumpers, and it's chasing the ambulance looking thing. And Signal Man is like, "Hey, what's those Bozoke?" And Signal Man gives a chase.
Yes. And as they give chase, they drive past Yoko and Natsumi as they have stopped to get ice cream, shirking their grocery shopping responsibilities.
Yes.
Yeah. So they show up at a factory.
Natsumi, by the way, has this wild skirt on that is like long and like split up the front, but the split up the front is a zipper. And as I saw it, I realized like, oh wow, this show is in 1997, which means we are about to start hitting like those late 90s, but specifically early 2000s fashion choices. And brother, it's gonna be a thing.
Oh, dude. I know we may have talked about this in the past, but they're back. Kids are wearing fanny packs again. Not like ironically. Just like, this is my cool fanny pack.
I mean, wrestlers have been wearing fanny packs for years. They're just catching up. These kids are just catching back up.
So anyways, they pull into the factory, and the Wumpers are attacking what is very obviously another Bozoke. You know, I say another Bozoke, but I don't think that's actually true. I mean, he is a Bozoke, obviously, because we know that.
Yeah.
But it might just be that everybody from space looks that way.
Well, everyone but Zanet, which is weird. But yeah, like when Signal Man sees this, he's just like, oh, there's a person from space being chased by Wumpers. I am a cop. I'm going to go deal with this situation. So he chases them down, and he is, like, you know, trying to grab the Wumpers and arrest them. Most of them get away. There's one blue one who like doesn't quite hop on the bus quickly enough to escape with the rest of them, and Signal Man is about to just absolutely ruin that dude's day.
Yeah, he's like Terminator walking at him.
Oh, man, I love Signal Man. Not only do I love Signal Man in all episodes, I specifically love Signal Man in this episode.
Yeah, he's pretty incredible.
Anyway, he does not get a chance to ruin this blue boy because the guy who had been driving that other car hops out and grabs onto him. He's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You've truly saved me. Like, what can I ever do to possibly repay you?
Yes. And this is Zeri, the space fashion designer. And I looked him up. And according to the internet, his motif is high fashion and tropical fish, which I would not have guessed from looking at him.
I don't see it.
But take another look at him, because I would not have guessed it when I saw it. But when someone was like high fashion tropical fish, I was like, oh yeah, there it is. He looks real. He just looks real weird.
He looks real weird, but I do think that they succeed in making him look real weird, like a high fashion monster. You know, like it's not just a random weirdness. It is a like wild fashion weirdness, which I appreciate.
Oh, you know what? Now that you say tropical fish, I absolutely see it.
Yeah, right?
Yep,
see,
yep, there
I
it
didn't
is.
pick it up either, but so anyways, he rolls up and he's like, dude, I can't thank you enough. And he's like, let me give you a jacket from my new collection. Like, this is how I will repay you. And Signalman's like, oh, no, citizen, just doing my job. I couldn't possibly, well, maybe, I don't know. That looks like a pretty cool jacket. Like, he's sort of going back and forth as to whether or not he can.
It seems like he's slightly embarrassed by having, like, the attention lavished on him, but he is also, like, pretty into it.
Yeah, he's doing that, like, public servant, like, I'm just doing my job. Don't worry about it. This is what I do every day. You know what? I will take the jacket, though.
It's pretty radical. It fits my enormous shoulders.
You made it specifically for my big old Signal
It can
shoulders.
fit over my pauldrons.
So he does. So as he's going back and forth, we do realize that he is just like, he is making this jacket. Like, when he says, let me give you a jacket from my new collection, what he means is, let me create a bespoke jacket in the next 30 seconds that I will give to you.
Extremely impressive.
Yeah.
Man has skills. I mean, listen, the jacket is hideous, but even to make a hideous jacket in 30 seconds with one sewing machine is very impressive.
It's obviously a 30-second jacket, but it is, for a 30-second jacket, pretty good.
I was going to say it's a better jacket than I would make in 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
So so at this point, the Yuko and Natsumi have arrived, and he takes the jacket, and it is it fits over his like giant shoulder signal pauldrons, and so in order to fit that, like it doesn't fit the rest of his body even vaguely.
No.
It's basically like a curtain
It's a huge
that has been draped
plaid
over
box.
him. Yeah, it's incredible. And they're like, so he turns.
It's got a little like lapel thing. Not little. It's also like huge and gaudy. But it is this like the same image as Signalman's badge. And Zeri's like, hey man, I even put your logo on it, man. It's very cool. It's very you.
Yeah. So he turns to the girls and he says, hey, citizens, you're the ones who work at Pegasus Motors, right? What do you think of my great new jacket? They're like, well, it's stupid.
It's ugly.
It's stupid.
You look
It's
terrible.
trash.
It's ugly. You look terrible. It's trash. And he flips.
Yeah, he 100% loses it. Like, he is not reacting. Like, listen, if I ask you how my jacket looks and you say it looks like trash and you look like a stupid clown, like, I'm going to be hurt, but I'm not going to, like, attack you. And that is exactly what happens here. Like, he's, like, picks up a trash can and throws it at them.
Yeah. Can I tell you about the Power Rangers Turbo episode Stitch Witchery that is based on this?
I would love for you to do that, Jake.
Yeah, please.
So the plot of it is that Ashley is in like a fashion designer class in high school because like it's a fake high school, so they got classes like that. And she makes a jacket that's pretty ugly, and she's like, Cassie, do you like this jacket? And Cassie goes, no, that jacket is ugly. And then so Ashley gets discouraged and runs into a fashion designer who happens to be a monster. It is Zeri once she transforms, but in her human form, she's just like a pre Devil Wears Prada Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada looking lady.
Okay.
Her name is Delicia and Evil.
Delicia and Evil.
Yeah.
Got it.
So not their best work.
Nope.
And she's like, oh, I love this jacket. Let me mass produce this jacket. So then she gets like the rights to the jacket or whatever and has the Piranatrons, which are the turbo version of the Wumpers, mass produce them. And when you put the jacket on, you become very mean. There's no like anger meter, but like basically all of her friends are like wearing big jackets from the 80s being like, your jacket sucks even though I'm wearing it and you're stupid.
So in the Power Rangers, everyone wears the jacket?
Everybody but the Yellow Ranger wears the jacket, and they all are mean, and they're all just like yelling at each other and being mean to each other, and it's very good. And then later, Blue Centurion, who is Signalman, gets his own big jacket, and then the thrust of the episode can happen.
Got it.
Amazing.
That's all very good. So we go from there. The girls are running, and then we see the guys, and they sort of like run into each other around a corner.
Yeah, now they're all in town, and I get, and none of them are still wearing their like barbecue camping clothes. So
yeah, I was confused as to why the guys had separated in the first place. It was like a minor thing, but like they just, instead of all turning a corner together, like they round separate corners and then meet there. It just seemed weird. I don't know.
It's before cell phones. It's hard to coordinate stuff like this.
Yeah.
You couldn't. The pagers are
They're
really.
all in the same place. They left from the same place, is
And
what
yeah,
I'm
they
saying.
do have communicator wristbands. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I have a question real quick about these boy Power Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
Or I guess boy Car Rangers. Red Ranger, I understand who he is. He's the guy in the red jacket. Is the Green Ranger wearing exclusively blue and the Blue Ranger wearing exclusively green, or did I flip that in my head?
No, you're right.
Okay,
No, yeah,
why?
You got it.
Why did they do
the
that?
The only way I can make it work in my head is that Minoru, the green racer, he wears a blue shirt with a yellow tie, and if you put those two together, it's green.
It's a lot of math you gotta do.
Color math.
But like everybody else is just wearing their colors, and I was like, why didn't you just make this fool the Blue Ranger if you're gonna put him in a blue shirt? I don't get it.
It's even worse
really
than that
weird.
because
Okay.
Yoko, the Pink Ranger, who is the accountant, wears mostly pink. Natsumi, the Yellow Ranger, who is the mechanic, wears a red jumpsuit.
She wears a red jumpsuit, but when she's not wearing the red jumpsuit, she just wears whatever. Like, she just has an actual, like, everybody else has one outfit. Natsumi has an actual wardrobe. Like, when you see her, she's just wearing
But
different clothes.
it is not a exclusively or even primarily yellow wardrobe.
Okay, so I just got spoiled on this episode because she is wearing yellow.
Yeah. I think when she wears
like,
the red jumpsuit, she is often wearing yellow gloves. I think just as a nod.
As like a reminder, maybe?
That's weird. At least Carranger had the decency to have nobody wearing the right color ever, and everyone had 9 shirts on.
Oh man, I sometimes forget and then have the joy of re-remembering.
Sometimes they got 9 shirts. Sometimes they got 2 separate pairs of shorts on.
Oh man, one of those shorts is actually just a apron made out of a pair of shorts.
Oh man, it's so incredible.
I miss those boys.
Okay, so here's what we find out. We go back to Zeri, who is obviously a bozoke. He's ZZ Zeri, the bozoke fashion designer, and Richie Hiker is there. And it turns out what this is an anger jacket. This is a jacket that makes you angry. I feel like it would have made a lot more sense and been easier to film if this had been like, I don't know, a hat or a necklace or like literally anything.
I mean, would it have been easier? Yes. Would it have been nearly as delightful? No, of course not. The jacket makes the episode.
So it's an anger jacket is what it is, and it has a remote control that Richie Hiker has.
Now, the remote control does not control what Signal Man does. It controls his anger level. And so...
Yes.
Yeah.
Like... What happens is they keep like jacking up the anger level on this thing, and it keeps making Signal Man get more and more violent. Like he's chasing after them with his baton, and then they jack up the anger level even more, and he turns his baton into a laser gun, and he tries to murder 5 human teenagers with a laser gun from space because that
he thinks are just citizens.
He does not know
they're
they're
at a garage.
Right.
Also, the remote control looks like the NES Turbo controller, if anyone remembers that.
Oh, man. Yeah, it does.
That's all
totally
I could think is like, this guy's cheating at Bubble Bobble if he's using this controller.
Yeah, so he just attacks them. And this is incredible because Richie Hiker says, he's like, oh, man, now that Signal Man is attacking random citizens,
innocent
the Car
bystanders.
Rangers will show up for sure. Yeah. Now the Car Rangers will show up. Like, definitely the Car Rangers will be here. And I really, I'm having a lot of fun with, I think this is as deep or maybe as much as it's ever been like a significant part of the show that the Rangers have secret identities. Like, they have had secret identities before.
Yeah.
But it's never been as much of like a plot point as it is in this.
Right, because usually, even if like the other people in town don't know that like Daigo is a Die Ranger, like the bad guys know who they are. But in this one, no one really knows who they are. Like Signal Man doesn't know, the Bozoke don't know. Like it's really just like them and Dapu like holding it down.
I have it in my notes later in like the second half of the show that like they're very good about using code names, and I don't think any other Power Rangers that I've seen are this good because they're like Red Racer, Green Racer, and I was like, that's Minoru. So I didn't know that like they actually keep their secret identities. That's very nice.
So after they, Signal Man tries to murder them with a laser gun, they sort of hide behind a building and all transform in secret. He chases after them.
Yeah, right. They do still shout Excel Changer Henshin, like super loud.
That's part of it. I don't know if you can do it secretly. Like, I feel like shouting it, like, just like shouting it at the top of your lungs is part of transforming.
Yeah, okay. I suppose that they do need... Yeah, everybody yells it, right? That's just part of it. So they do transform, and then we get the whole thing. Like we said, we get the whole big thing, and everybody gets a close up. And then they all like hop out up on top of buildings surrounding Signal Man. They all do a full pose because we've got 20 minutes to fill. And then Signal Man just looks around at them, is still super angry, and just straight up calls surrender.
Yeah, he does not get into a fight with them. He's like, you guys are all jerks. I'm calling my giant robot, and it is going to shoot you with the biggest lasers I have.
Yeah.
And I love, like, as I am writing, wow, that's kind of a bit much. Yoko says, wow, that's a lot. Like, what is he doing?
Clearly, he does not follow by Zordon's 3 rules of never escalating a battle unless you have to. He's going, like, everybody who doesn't watch Power Rangers or Sentai goes, why don't they just start with the Zords?
Man.
And Signal Man's just starting with the Zords today.
Those Zordon 3 rules. Did the 3 rules persist after the Zordon era?
Yes and no. It's kind of weird because the Zordon era ends at the end of In Space, and then they kind of try to keep their secret identities, even though they're on an isolated space like colony flying through space, and so they try to keep it. But I think at that point, just the formula is there, so no one has to remember that. Like, there used to be 3 rules about this.
So the Carrangers are really surprised, and they're like, Dumpa, what do we do? And he's like, well, you gotta call RV Robo, I guess. So they do.
You spend 5 minutes calling RV Robo.
Oh boy, did they call him for a long time, huh?
Yeah. Oh, actually, this is a really good episode for you to have jumped in on, because you do get to see a little bit of the. Yeah. It's a really cool transformation sequence. Actually,
you've watched Turbo, so I'm sure a lot of this footage.
I've seen the full thing. I don't think I've ever seen the version where they pull up in go-karts and then drift under, and then the go-karts are their seats. That's something new I learned today.
Oh no, that's half of it for me.
That they always cut away from that. They're always like, nope, they're just driving. Don't worry about how they got in there. The go-karts are only for 3 episodes.
Oh, they drop the go-karts in Turbo?
Oh no, dude.
They don't use them very often. There's like an episode about bicycles that they use them in that I can think of, and then maybe 2 other times.
Our bicycle episode was very good.
The bike episode is really good.
Our bike episode was terrible because the monster's name was Big Burpa, and she just burped. That was her whole gimmick, was she just kept burping. And we were like, who is this for? Who would like this?
Oh. No, dude, those go-karts are around. Like, they do not leave. They're in, like, almost every episode.
So far, at least.
That's wild. Also, hearing the, like, jaunty tune and not the, like, shift into turbo going underneath the thing is very strange. It's like looking at a Funhouse mirror version of Turbo.
Oh, yeah. Like, the music in this show doesn't, like, it is good, but it does not rock.
It is clearly not Ron Wasserman, like, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot jazzier. It's a lot of chill jazz.
Yeah, it's nice. It's just unexpected.
Right.
So they form RV Robo, which is cool, and I love him. It's a great robot, guys. I know we were talking in the 5 stars about how there aren't a lot of giant robots that I don't like. But I feel like it's been a few episodes since I have said just how much I love the design of RV Robo. And I love that when
it's really good.
I love that when he shows up, it just says a big RV next to him.
Yeah,
like in laser letters in the sky.
So they start to fight, and then we drop down, and we get. I did not see this one coming. And Richie Hiker is standing next to Zizi Zeri, who is working again on a hand sewing machine, and he's like, how's that jacket coming?
He's got a
Because ZZ
he's got a
Zeri
lot more fabric
is
this time.
way more fabric, which makes sense because he is making a jacket for Syrender by hand on a human-sized sewing machine. And he says, it's almost done. We just need to deliver it. And we'll use a rocket. And we look over.
I love the setup for this. Like Richie Hiker's like, well, we're gonna need some rockets to get that on the car. And then ZZ Zeri goes, well, I have some right here.
They just look to the left, and there is a
just two
full
big
rocket.
It is like, and
wild.
it is not like, this is not like a little toy. This is like a full-on Apollo 11.
Yeah.
This thing has like turbo
It's got
thrusters.
stages. Like,
Yeah. So they finish the jacket and they load it up, and they are standing just so too close. You would die.
Oh, for sure.
And then we get the most glorious thing I've ever seen, which is Syrender in like a giant oversized suit jacket.
Dave, I feel like you're missing the crucial moment, which is we do see the scene with the rocket
sorry.
that just has the jacket like draped over it,
Just hanging off of it.
just casually draped. Fires
Oh,
like
it's so good.
It was standing vertically on the ground. It shoots somehow horizontally at Syrender and then does not explode because it's not a missile, but also somehow doesn't crash. Just the moment
it doesn't explode.
The moment it makes contact with Syrender, he is now wearing an enormous robot jacket. What could be better? I ask you.
Now, I have two things about this big jacket. The three things. Number one, I love it so much. I just want to get that out of the way. It is the greatest thing I've ever seen. In the Turbo episode, Richie Hiker plays the counterpart is General Havoc, who has not shown up at this part. So you don't see Zeri or Delicia and Evil, which isn't even a pun now that I say it. Like, it's like close to a pun, like Power Rangers likes to do, but it isn't actually anything. But you don't see her making the jacket because Richie Hiker, General Havoc would be right there, and he doesn't show up for another couple episodes. So they're just fighting Robo Racer or whatever the version of Surrender is in Turbo, and then just a rocket with a jacket comes in with no preamble. It's so good. There's absolutely no reason to believe that they would need another jacket because it doesn't move independently. Someone is controlling it, and that person is already bejacketed. So I don't know what the purpose of getting an even bigger jacket on it is, but it's the greatest.
Double anger. See, that
So much anger.
that is the sort of magic. Like, I think that what I like about watching Sentai is that, like, the people who make the show are just the people who have made the show. Like, they're not adapting it from something. So it's allowed to be its own thing. But there are moments like that Power Rangers magic, where just like they have to work around something, and they do have footage of a jacket on a rocket that they have to use because, of course, you have to use it.
Because how else is the jacket going to get on there if you don't show the rocket putting it on?
Right. How else would you put a jacket on a robot? You need the rocket.
There's no other way.
I don't know. You could use a helicopter. No, it wouldn't work. You need a rocket. So
I guess a crane, maybe?
Maybe
So-
2 jets. Get the Blue Angels.
So Red, he's like, man, I gotta figure out what's going on. So he just sort of like hops out of RV Robo and just sort of like swan dives into Syrender, and he's trying to get through to Signal Man, who is in like a sort of rage trance. Like he can't understand. He can't interact with the outside world. And Red's like, oh man, he's being controlled. So he tells the rest of the team this.
Yeah.
And
they figure it out. They're like, oh, now that they've put the big jacket on, he was wearing an ugly jacket like that too. I like that they still take the chance to dunk on the ugly jacket.
I mean, it's very ugly.
It's a very bad jacket, and they're not going to miss their opportunity.
I mean, he's almost at his peak anger. You're not going to lose a lot by... And he does say that at some point. He's like, I am nearing my peak anger. And boy, I wish I knew what my... Like, okay, I guess I'm glad that I don't, like, reach my peak anger. But I wish that in a moment that I was angry, I could just gauge the percentage of that anger.
Right.
Like, just off the cuff. Like, oh, man, I am 72% angry right now.
Man, I deeply envy everybody at Anime's capacity to quantify down to, like, the percentile exact anything they are experiencing at any moment all the time.
Yeah, I love that because it first of all, it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't need to. My favorite part is that, like, they know the limit. Like, they know, like, I'm not at my peak anger. So there's, like, a point where I'm like, this is as angry as I could possibly be, and I know that.
Right. Like, I'm aware of... Right, but then they're always doing things like, I'll have to just go beyond. I'll have to go beyond, like, plus ultra.
Plus ultra, yeah, I gotta do a 1,000,000% smash. It's
right.
It's so good.
That's not how percents work.
No, but he used 1,000,000% of his energy once, and I cried like a baby.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good moment.
So good.
Man. So I haven't read the manga, but I am all caught up on the show. So I'm really looking forward to season 4.
Season 4 is going to be buck wild. I can't wait. We can go back to Power Rangers now, or else I will talk about My Hero Academia forever.
Oh my gosh. I don't have time to do a different podcast. And I'm sure there's like a million podcasts about My Hero Academia. Anyways. So, and besides, if I'm going to do another podcast, it's got to be Family Matters. So I
went to space at the end of that one.
I know, it would be a good tie-in. So Natsumi and Minoru like hop down to deal with like the problem of the remote control. So they basically just like show up. They're like, "Hey, jerks!" and they blast the remote control out of Richie Hiker's hand. And then instead of like explode, like it explodes a little bit, and then it just sort of fades into non-existence. And then we hop up and we see Signal Man has come to his senses, and then Zelmoda's in, and then they all hop down, and then there's a street level fight for like 30 seconds. And Zelmoda's just like, "Oh, never mind, man, I'm out."
Too many ranges.
It's a super bad idea.
Right before Red, who I don't know all their names, he's Kyosuke, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right before he hops down, he's like, all right, Signal Man, Yoko and Natsumi are in there alone, because I think at this point, Zeri has eaten the Emo Yokon.
Yes.
And grown. And so, like, they're fighting, and so he's like, all right, Signal Man, you got to go help them. I'm going to go down on the ground and fight in this little fight down here. And he's like, gotcha. And I'm getting very angry, but this time it's my anger. And then Syrender rips off both sleeves and then the jacket.
Man, I was really hoping for a moment that he was going to rip off both sleeves, but
and
keep
then leave
the
it.
jacket and just be wearing like a big sleeveless jacket.
Oh, it would have been so good.
Sadly, he does not. So, Kyosuke, Naoki, and Minoru down on the ground. They beat up Zelmoda for a second until he retreats. Then they hop back up into RV Robo. And now that, like, Signal Man is no longer being controlled and all 5 Rangers are in RV Robo, like, it is a bad day to be ZZ Zeri.
Yeah. He's just a fashion designer. He's not meant for combat.
He does have, like, a cool thing where he has, like, these long, like, bolts of fabric that he, like, throws and, like, wraps around you and then shoots electricity through them.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah, that's a pretty rad. That's a very, very cool
He also
attack.
has, like, an I-beam that shoots a bunch of, like, square-shaped lasers, and I don't know what the deal is with that. I rewound it, like, 3 times.
I think there's... Are they supposed to be like plaid or like fabric swatches or something?
He shoots plaid at you, the most dangerous pattern.
Yeah, so then that's basically it. Like, he does an electric fabric attack. It's a pretty neat idea. It's not enough. They just do Vulcan Spark and then Siren Vulcan, and then they hit him with the giant sword, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So he's dead. Weep for him. Weep for his memory. Richie Hiker runs away because it is a bad place for him to be. And we go back to the ground where Signal Man is like, guys, I'm super sorry. Like, because at this point, like the I think the Carrangers have untransformed, so they are back in their civilian persona. And Signal Man catches up to him. He's like, guys, I wasn't myself before. I'm really sorry about all that. You're just private citizens. You don't need to have this sort of trouble brought on you.
Yeah.
And they say, no, man, it's cool. Like, don't worry about it. We totally understand. In fact, we're all getting kind of hungry. How about you come join us at our barbecue, which we had to leave earlier because of all this crap.
Signal Man says, great, love barbecue. I don't know how he's going to eat it, but he does.
I'm a robot without a mouth, but I love some barbecue.
And then we go back to Barabarian, and President Gunn was like, hey, Richie Hiker, I heard you invited Zanet. He doesn't sound like this. It's like, I heard you invited Zanet to a hot spring. And like, we all think it's about to go down. And Richie Hiker's like, well, why do you ask? And Gyno was like, would you take me to a hot spring?
And then everyone in the bar is like, yes, take us to the hot spring, Richie Hiker.
Yeah.
Like, this turns out not to be jealousy, but in fact, like, an enormous case of intergalactic FOMO. Extremely good. I
and
love the
then
Bozoki guys. They're great.
Yeah, man.
They seem real fun.
They are rapidly.
Is
they're
Dynamo's
great.
tongue still upsetting? Yes. Is Zelmoda's face still upsetting? Of course. But you gotta look past that to
Zelmoda's
their
everything
heart.
is upsetting.
Their horrible, reckless hearts.
I don't know his title. What's his name? Grotch? Does he have maybe the grossest name in Power Rangers
Probably.
history? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it does sound icky.
Yeah, the inventor Grotch.
I also realized he's a clutch today.
Oh yeah.
So that's
He's
the
a
thing.
what?
He's a clutch, like for a standard transmission.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I used to sandblast them, and I only looked at him 40 times every time I watched an episode of Turbo, and today's the day I realized that.
I mean, most of them are
now I gotta
named
see it.
after like car parts. You know, like Zanet is named after a bonnet, which is a hood, I think, or a trunk. It's a hood.
Or the trunk, one or the other.
Dynamo was named after a dynamo. Richie Hiker is named, obviously, as after a hitchhiker. We've never really gone over these in detail, but it is true. They've all got some sort of, like, all of the main ones have some sort of weird car-themed name. Which makes sense, because they're weird car-themed monsters.
Yeah. So they made them all pirates in Turbo.
I mean...
Close enough.
I mean, it kind of works, right? They have a similar vibe.
Yeah. They live in a submarine in a lake.
Well, that's different.
So that that's like some pirates
So they
do.
don't have like their own like car moon that like circles around the Earth. So back on Earth, we have one last scene where they are at the barbecue, and Signal Man, I think, is asking for like more spicy stuff to be put on his plate. And then they do, and then he's about to take a bite, and then the camera cuts away as everyone, like, braces for impact when he eats way too much spicy food. And that...
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what he's eating. It looks pink?
It looks kind of like kimchi, but that is a Korean food,
it's
and I
definitely not. I'm not really...
So I don't think it's that.
You can get kimchi
know.
in Japan, but it's not as good, according to our sister.
He just called it the red stuff, so, like... I have no idea what it is.
But whatever. That's what he eats, and then that episode is over. But guys, this episode is not yet over, because first, we need to determine where Zizi Zeri falls within the creature royale. So the Creature Royale now is up to 150...
Wow.
4, 5, 6, 7. 157 monsters.
Yeah.
At
That is
the
a lot.
top of the list, of course, we have Jin the Demon Fist, followed by the Three Stooges, and then Bauer Revenger to round out our top 5. The bottom of the list are all people who suck real bad. Where are we looking for ZZ Zeri, Dave? What are you thinking?
Well, Matt, I will say that Fashion Dimension is slot number 33.
Okay, Fashion Dimension slot number 33. Now,
So that I would say is probably a hard ceiling.
yeah, because as much as I like ZZ Zeri and the anchor jackets are good, at no point does he dress someone up as a deadly female sniper who never misses her mark.
Yeah. So
And while ZZ Zeri has a sewing machine, Fashion Dimension is an evil sewing machine.
yeah, with scissor hands and a pincushion arm. So that's all amazing. So yeah, I don't think ZZ Zeri is up there. I think really what we should be looking at is other maybe mind control monsters.
Okay. What other mind control monsters can you recall off the top of your head?
Who is it that turns people into evil ant people?
Oh, that's Ant Bazooka. That's number 63.
Yeah. So he's kind of a mind control monster.
Now, Ant Bazooka he's high on the list, but in sort of a weird way, because Ant Bazooka himself was kind of a nothing. But
Yeah.
he did turn people into ant people, and then when they were ant people, those ant people did eat like an entire herd of cattle. But that
Yeah.
was also the episode that introduced where Tran turned into Tranza.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
he got a lot of sort of like splash over points for that, for being
Man,
in that episode.
Let me jump in here. So spot 103 is Diamond Dimension, and spot 105 is Itan Momen the Rag Strangler. So I feel like we've got a make people crazy and a fabric oriented monster in pretty close proximity. I feel like that's probably a pretty good way to start. Pretty good spot to start at there.
Okay, yeah. Now listen, I feel like genuinely, if I could rate the concept of a robot-sized jacket being launched via rocket towards Cyrender, it would go really high in the list. But unfortunately, what we're actually ranking is ZZ Zeri, who is fine.
Right. So I would say, I don't think we can put him as high as Diamond Dimension, or actually Itan Moman, the extraordinarily petty rag strangler.
Well,
I
what's right
do-
under Itan Moman the Rag Strangler? We've got
Is Nupifuhofu, which
he's-
is the face licker.
he's the guy who licked
We-
people's faces and then their faces came off.
Yeah, and then he put them in a face gallery, and then right under that is Mujin the manga artist, and below that is Majin Robo Veronica. And
Imagine Robo Veronica is a good look, but certainly not as did not have as much of an impact as I think. In the plot of the show, Imagine Robo Veronica was an important episode because that was
yeah,
somebody's big evil robot at the end of the series, but that was just a big evil robot. They did not have anger jackets. Now, the manga artist was also kind of a shapeshifter because he would paint himself into being different monsters.
yeah. No, I think I would say below Mujin the manga artist, but above Majin Robo Veronica.
I think that's a pretty fair spot. It's about 2/3 down, but it is a top-heavy list.
Yeah.
And you don't start to get to the actual bad stuff until a good deal lower than that.
So he comes in at new number 108.
All right. Lucky number 108.
Now, just gut reaction. If you were to put the big evil jacket on the list, where would it go?
Oh, man.
Oh man,
Big Evil
Big
Jacket.
Evil Jacket I think would have to go a whole lot higher.
Well, okay, no, let's actually talk about this for a second.
Okay, hold up. I think. What about Snake Armor? Snake Armor slot number 94.
Oh yeah, actually, that's kind of perfect.
Yeah, so I think definitely better than Snake Armor.
Because it's very similar to Snake Armor, except that it's huge and plaid.
Yeah, so obviously
and very ugly.
And very, very ugly. So slot number 89 is Bar of Clothes. And that is the Silkworm, and that's the episode where Juri goes like straight, like Predator style. She's like ruining dudes in like a headband and in a bathing suit.
Oh, that
So
was
I
an
don't think the
extremely good
jacket is-
episode.
Yeah, I don't think the jacket is as good as that. So that would put the jacket at slot number 90.
Okay, right above
A good showing for
A
a
respectable
big
showing.
jacket.
right above Baravanish. And above one of the two. Are you putting it in a separate column?
Yeah, I did.
A giant evil plaid jacket comes in at next column. The Mirror Universe number 90. And that is finally going to do it for this, the 17th episode of License to Carranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you find the show. That, theoretically, directs more people to listen to this show, which is great for everyone. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can do that all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Jake, thank you so much for joining us. If people would like to find
Thank you for having me.
you and your things on the internet, how can they do that?
The easiest place to do that is what Chris Sims calls the bad website. I'm on Twitter at JJ_Mason. I mean, it is pretty bad. I just do want to say that there is a worse website, and that is Facebook.
Oh, yeah. It's
there's a lot of people got rid of their Facebooks and still are begrudgingly on Twitter. So, it's not a lot better. But
Every little bit helps.
So I'm on Twitter at JJ. Right. In this day and age. I got too many podcasts. I have a podcast about Power Rangers called The Morphin Grid. And then I do a lot of other stuff. If you want to know what they are. If you're interested in Kingdom Hearts or Pokemon, I do a podcast with Matt about James Bond called Spectre, and just a ton of other stuff. You can ask me on Twitter.
Right on. And I recommend that if you are going to go on Twitter, that is one of the things that you do there. Anyway, thank you for joining us, friends. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.